Meeting called to order, please. Please join me in the allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Martin? Here. Ms. Thompson? Here. Mia Chow?
Here.
Ms. Chun?
Here.
Mr. Rossi?
Here.
Ms. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Lay?
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone in the chamber to this meeting. Also, welcome everyone who's watching us from home. Today, we start with the special order of business. I know that we have an employee highlight. Do we have that person in the chamber tonight? Well, we do not. But I'd like to just acknowledge her tonight. Her name is Kristen Eichmann. She was recently selected for a $500 classroom grant by Arch Painting, Inc. There were over 700 teachers nominated for this award, and she was one of the 20 teachers selected. Kristen teaches in a grade 7-8 newcomers position at the Catherine Philbin Stocklosa Middle School. She recently celebrated 20 years of service in such a role, and on behalf of the entire school committee, I extend my congratulations to her and thank her for all her work. We also have other guests, special guests here with us, a business right across from City Hall. This item is taken up in item 9.2. At this point, I'd like a motion to take 9.2 out of order by Ms. Doherty, second by Ms. Thompson. On 9.2, this is, we want to thank the donation of $3,030 from VIP Tires and Service. At this point, what you two gentlemen would like to say a few words from VIP Tires? Okay, I'd like to introduce you to the podium, please. And to the podium there, if you could say, yes. If you could say a few words about VIP Tires and the program and the check that you have presented to us tonight.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name's Eric Avery. I manage the VIP Tire and Service right across the street. So we've been there for a couple of months now. Just want to thank everybody for welcoming us. Part of what we do when we open a brand new store is we do a program called Oil Changes for Education. So we do $10 oil changes to try to help everybody out around us. And then we take that $10 for each oil change that we do, and we donate it to the school system in the town that we're in. So in this case, we want to present you with a check for $3,030. That represents the 303 oil changes we did in the first 6 weeks we were open.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you very much. We very much appreciate your generosity. We appreciate community partners and community organizations who are willing to support Lowell Public Schools. As you were counting the $10 per oil change that make the $3,030, I was counting field trips that we'll be able to pay for with that money. So we very much appreciate your community spirit and your generosity. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank you not only for the donation to the public school, but also want to thank VIP Tires for doing business in the city of Lowell. It's wonderful to have great business like yours being here in our city. At this point, I'd like to invite both of you to come inside on the floor, and we can take pictures with all the school committee members.
Everyone's fitting right here. Let's see. I'll take a few of them.
just make sure we got it. All right, that should work.
Please keep that pose. Thank you, folks. Everyone smile. Okay. Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
You need a motion to, you need a mo-
Forward it along. Thank you so much.
Okay. Need a motion to accept the employee highlights and also item 9.2 by Mr. Rossi, second by Mr. Lay. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Martin? Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Mia Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Chun?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay? 7 yeas.
We now will continue on with the rest of the agenda where we left off on section 4 of the minutes. Need a motion to, any comments or questions on the minutes before I take a motion? Hearing none, need a motion to approve of the minutes of the regularly scheduled Lowell School Committee meeting of October 18, 2023 by Ms. Doherty, second by Ms. Thompson. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We're now at the section of the permission to enter. Any comments or questions on any of the items in the permission to enter? Hearing none, need a motion to approve the permission to enter by Ms. Chun, second by Mr. Lay. Roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
We now at the section 6, motions. We'll start with 6.1. This is a motion by Ms. Doherty, request the school committee meets in executive session prior to the November 15th school committee meeting to discuss the BHPK report, second by Ms. Martin. Ms. Doherty?
I thank you, Your Honor. I think the motion pretty much speaks for itself. I think that we need to have another session because we're dealing with personnel privacy issues. It needs to be an executive session. But I would like to take this opportunity to ask why we didn't receive the report.
Ms. Okay, good. Ms. Doherty, please continue.
I just had a question. We didn't get the BHPK report yet, right? Because I didn't get it. So do we have any understanding about why that hasn't happened?
I do not know why we have not received it. Was the communication, any comment by Ms. Mon, has been any communication with them?
My understanding is that it's tied up with the law office. They're working out the payment.
Okay.
That's as I understand it.
All right. Mr.
Perhaps the superintendent can add to that, because obviously, I don't want to meet if we don't have the report, but we were supposed to have the report, I think, a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know if through you, the superintendent has more information about why they haven't been paid, when they're going to be paid, whatever we need to know so that we can move forward.
I believe that that what Ms. Martin said is correct, that they're waiting for payment to be worked out through the law office. I believe just today that the law office cleared the hurdles to payment, so now I believe the payment can proceed, and I don't know exactly how long that takes to process, but that must be why we don't have a report. I do agree with Ms. Doherty with your assertion. If it seems like it would not be wise to book a meeting if we don't have the report. But it seems like any hurdles to receiving the report have been removed.
Ms. Mon?
So if I could, I think it would make the most sense for us to be able to expect that we should be able to, again, and I don't know how long it takes to actually cut a check either. But as soon as that happens, it would seem feasible that we should be able to schedule something probably end of next week or beginning of the week after may be safer to schedule this personnel subcommittee. But I do think we should wait until we actually have a strong sense of when that check will be cut. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Doherty?
So just for clarification, if we could say that as soon as they get paid, we would be polling to schedule.
We'd be expecting to get the
executive.
report, yep.
Because we need to get moving on this, so.
And the committee would be receiving it first of all.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify then, in reference to the motion then, how do you want us to proceed?
Ms. Doherty?
I think we could just make an amendment to it that says, you know, at the earliest possible,
Yeah, and take up the,
after we get
Thank you.
a sense of when we're going to get the report.
Ms. Doherty, I think Ms. Martin has requested to make that amendment to your motion to schedule the executive session upon receiving the report. Is that correct? And without getting into the situation of the executive session, would there be a timeline of so many days or so many weeks we should have the meeting after we receive the report?
if we are, yeah, 1 week is fine. That's, I mean, basically, we'd be asking the superintendent's office to poll and to work with your office, Mr. Mayor, to determine an appropriate date as soon as we receive it.
Okay, so the appropriate date, we don't want to set the date whether it's 1 week on when's the polling, when it's appropriate. Okay, so the motion is to, Madam Secretary, could you, for clarification, could you state the motions with the amendment?
Ms. Doherty, so you're striking 11/15/23 and adding that you will meet at the earliest time when the committee receives the report and no later than 1 week after receiving the report. Is that correct?
I don't think we should even say no later than 1 week. I think right?
Oh.
Because,
So remove the 1 week part?
right.
So amend at the earliest time when the committee receives the report.
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, just, Mr. Superintendent?
Just one further clarification. It seems that the committee anticipates receiving the report before the superintendent does, or I don't know that I'll receive it. In other words, if I don't know you've received it, I won't be, right? You'll let me know. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that's a great answer, Ms. Mon. Again, clarification, after the committee receives report, there'll be a poll to establish a meeting date. And Ms. Mon second that as well with the amendments. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Thompson? Yes. Mayor Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Chun?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Yes. Ms. Doherty? Yes. Ms. Delay?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Thank you. The next motion is by Ms. Chun, who requests an update on the play structures at the Riley Elementary School, second by Ms. Doherty. Ms. Chun?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So sometime in the spring, I put in a motion in regards to the play structure right at the Riley School. I just need an update if our superintendent and also the city work together to ensure that the play structure is safe and it's adequate to our standards. And also, again, the reason why I put in this motion is because I was approached by a different set of parents still mentioning about the play structure. So I just need an update on that as well. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on these motions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion is carried. The next motion is also by Ms. Chun, request the superintendent to update on the leaking issue at the Freshman Academy, second by Mr. Lay. Ms. Chun?
Again, thank you very much. And this motion I put in sometime in May in regards to, there was a leak around that time. It was like raining season. So just want to make sure that the issue is being fixed. And also we want to do preventative action and being proactive, not having any mold issues, because we all know very well that this happened, and want to make sure that this is being fixed and getting some kind of samples to make sure that there's no mold spores growing in that area. So I just need an update on that. So I haven't received any report on that. Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Rossi?
Yes, I was notified earlier this week of water in the elevator at Lowell High School on Monday, where kids were being transported from. I just want to make sure that these things are being addressed immediately at the same time, because it's not safe for kids to be in an electrical unit with water in it, in a puddle of water. And just that the public needs to be aware of what's happening as well. If these things are even are happening, it's our kids' safety in the city. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Yes. Also, I apologize. We do have a new student senator from Lowell High School. I'd like to introduce her, Ms. Giselle Siankish. Welcome. And she also just raised her hands to speak on this issue. Ms. Siankish?
Hi, thank you, Mayor. I'm not really that aware of the etiquette, but I would like to also second, I don't know if I can second that, but I'd also like to mention that there's also leaks in the tunnel, and I've noticed that students who do use the elevator are avoiding them. I do have a friend who has like a broken leg, and instead of using the elevator because there's a puddle in there, she's just using the stairs. So yeah, that's it.
Great comment. Ms. Sankish, that will be added to the minute notes, and the superintendent will look at this matter as well that you mentioned. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, on favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is the subcommittee report, and this is on the minutes of the HR and Labor Relations Subcommittee meeting of October 10, 2023. The chairperson is Ms. Connie Martin. Any report, Ms. Martin?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So just reporting out on our meeting from October 10th, we do have, we are in the process, I believe, of scheduling the next personnel subcommittee, so a lot of these topics are going to be kind of revisited at that. First was the superintendent search. We did make a request from the administration to pull some information for us for that next meeting, that next subcommittee meeting. So it was a motion that was made for us to receive, for the subcommittee to receive information from the last two blue ribbon committees, so we can review kind of how those were built. We're also looking for a copy of the most recent job description, and we would be anticipating that we would be launching the search the second week in January. We had asked that we were going to meet again in 3 weeks. I think we're a little beyond that, but we'll get that scheduled so we can get that process going. My understanding also is that Mr. Hall was going to be reaching out to Glenn Kuchar at MASC, the Mass Association of School Committees, to pull him in so that he's helped kind of coordinate our superintendent searches, I think the last two at least, to see if he would be available to meet with the subcommittee and indeed the full committee to talk about how we move forward with that. We did have a number of positions that were presented to us, a part-time McKinney-Vento liaison, and a full-time McKinney-Vento liaison. As in looking at the minutes here, I know that we had made some recommendations for some changes to those positions. We also had the district, was it the district support specialist as an additional position that was added? I'm looking just to, is that what I'm, oh, okay, the assistant coordinator for the Family Resource Center. So we had made some recommendations on that. As they come back, if they want to be presented at that next personnel subcommittee, we can take a vote then and then decide about making a recommendation for the full committee to take action on that. And then the final position we had discussed was the executive secretary for the chief schools officer and for licensure. We had discussed that, didn't make any determination on that one. I believe the administration is reconsidering how they want to use that position. So anything that would need to be presented to us at the next personnel subcommittee, we could take action on that. And I would submit that as the report of progress from that subcommittee, recognizing that all the real work is probably going to happen at the next subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Ms. Martin. Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just through you to the administration, I have a question. With a number of these new positions being proposed, is there budget funding for these positions? Assistant coordinator for FRC is not a role that we've had in the past. I think a couple of the other ones were brand new. And I'm just wondering if there's funding for that in the budget.
Mr. Superintendent?
There is funding. As I understand, the positions were, many of them approved in the budget and just put in suspense. And so they're accounted for in our budget, but just not freed up to hire just yet.
Any other comments or questions on the report? Hearing none, need a motion to accept the report of progress by Ms. Thompson, second by Mr. Lee. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion is carried. We are now at item number 8. These are the reports of the superintendent. We'll start with 8.1. These are the motion response to Mr. Rossi, 2/1/23, March 15/23, and September 2023 regarding bullying, cyberbullying. Any comments or questions, Mr. Rossi?
Yes, in terms of when the bullying, first of all, I want to thank you for the time spent on this. Obviously, you spent a lot of time on this, and I appreciate it. It seems like a lot of these offenses are happening during transitions for students in the hallways and in specialist times. Is there any way that we could double up on staffing so that there's more eyes on these students at these times to maybe decrease the incidence of this happening, where lines are longer and student classes are bigger, and there's a lot that can just happen, and not one teacher's eye can keep an eye on everything. So I'm just wondering about potentially putting more staff in hallways during transition times.
Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Rossi. I think it's an excellent suggestion. I also think you're using the data well. Like if we have the data and we put out these reports, then you use it to say where you think an action can be helpful. There are more staff in our schools now than there have ever been. We're well staffed, and so there's no reason we can't follow through on your suggestion and make sure that they are in the hallways during transition time.
Thank you. And my other question was in regards to, I know that Second Step is kind of an older social skills program, and I know that the Quaver program for social skills is one of the more interactive ones that kids really like. Is there any way that we can get one program so that all kids are aligned to one program within the Lowell Public Schools? Because I just think it's important that we're aligning everything for our kids so they're all on the same page.
Ms. Crocker?
Thank you. So I don't manage the social emotional learning department. That's Ms. Desmond's department. But yes, that is the conversation right now. They are looking to pilot some new programs. There is one happening at Pine Arts with the Wayfinder pilot. And Mr. Rosenshine and myself have had conversations about how that pilot is going. He's keeping close tabs on it. And I do believe that they'll be assembling another group to do, an ad hoc group to do a study about what the best programming would be moving forward, because we've had Second Step for a long time. They have updated it, but it may not be completely meeting the needs of the entire population, K-8. And you know, there's a lot that keeps changing in the world and keeps changing for kids and teens. And so a regular review of the programs that we're using is very important. We completely agree with you, and that is taking place.
And just one last question in regards to cyberbullying. My intent with that was to actually protect even staff with that, because I've heard reports of staff deleting text off of students' phones, and they have, I just want to make sure for the district, there is a sound policy for staff overall with cyberbullying, because I understand more than anything that something can happen after school hours that has nothing to do with what's happening in the school day, but yet it falls on a principal's lap, and it's a very gray area. So when it comes to cell phones, when it comes to Facebook or Instagram, social media, all the different Snapchats, I can't even think of them all, but it still falls in the principal's lap. So in something to protect our administrators in the realm of cyberbullying with some sound, tight language of what they can and cannot do, that even they can follow, because it is a very gray area still.
Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Crocker, please.
So I think that one of the greatest things that we have in this district are the staff council that are at our disposal, Jane Mosher-Canty and Mike Ortiz. I know as a principal, anytime there was gray area for me, when something came across my desk that I wasn't 100% sure if I had the legal authority to do something, what I should touch, what I shouldn't touch, the first phone call and what we are trained to do is call Jane and Mike. And so I did consult with the attorneys before I prepared this response, and that is part of the training as well. And part of it is, we have some hard and fast guidelines to follow, but every new item of social media that comes to fruition will present yet another new challenge for us. It's changing faster, and we are always working to adapt, and that is why, thankfully, we have those two amazing humans in our at our disposal, and we go to them first, and that is what we will continue to encourage, because we are playing catch up. The technology moves faster than we do, and we have to be responsive from a language and policy standpoint. So we will continue to go through our legal counsel to advise us on that moving forward, and that is something that I do relay to principals very regularly, and I work as a liaison with any requests that will come through me. I generally direct them, if necessary, right over to those individuals so that we are staying within our boundaries and within the law.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure that that's in the overall cyberbullying policy as well, that it's noted in there so that parents even know that it went to legal advice.
You all set with that motion response, Mr. Rossi? Okay. Any other comments, Ms. Thompson?
So I have a few questions. On page 2, I'm just going to go by page so it's easier to follow. On page 2, it has a section on the bottom which is bulleted, and it talks about disability. When that word is used, you're talking about physical difference, social, emotional. I'm not quite sure what the difference or differentiation is there.
Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you. Ms. Crocker, please.
So that is a general category in X2. And it could mean any type of disability if the nature of the report included something to do with a physical, any type of protected class would fall there outside of sexual orientation, race.
Okay.
And if there's something that doesn't quite fit any of those categories, it would go in the other.
Okay. And then kind of along that same line, the last two, it says 23 were coded as bullying other, and then it said the remainder were coded as bullying general. So what would be the difference between other and general?
So other would be something that was repeated that was identifiable. So if there was something related to, I'm going to use an example to try and make it as clear as possible, that a student was repeatedly bullied because of their clothing. Mm-hmm. That's not hitting any one of those other categories. It's not necessarily the protected class, but it was identifiable, and it was repeated. It was very clear what that issue was. And the bullying other, the general category would be that there may have been a multitude of reasons why that child received unkind treatment or unkind remarks, but it didn't, all center around one thing.
Excellent, thank you. I might give you a workout. I have a couple more questions. So on the next page, page 3, it says 27 students were classified as EL. So I'm just curious about this, and this might be you or Ms. Phillips, I'm not quite sure who would respond to this, but during the investigation, because you're talking about, English language learners, is cultural awareness a part of the matrix that is employed when you're doing those type of investigations?
Ms. Crocker?
Yes, I would say so. In fact, we work with so many students that come from so many different cultures around the world, and their newness to the country and awareness of culturally appropriate norms here is always taken into consideration. And to rise to the level of bullying would mean that it really did pass that specific repeated targeted. And if it was not that, it would be coded as different.
Okay. Page 4, I'm almost done, I promise. On page 4, there's underneath the diagram, it says that bullying reporting tool is going to be available on LPS website. Now, I appreciate that, but I think it was specifically stated the last time that it needs to be on every single website of the individual schools, for the reason that parents are not going to go to the LPS website. They're going to go to their children's school. So I just want to make sure, and again, I did check a variety of sites, still very hard to find the tool. So I just want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that that is done. And then my last question is surrounding all the, I think there were like 16 different curriculum tools that you guys are using. Just curious how that's being shared with parents. So obviously we want to loop them in to be a part of the support, bullying support, right? So are they aware of what the different curriculum ideas are or philosophies are? Is there somewhere where they're described so that, again, they can be a part of the, the loop of what's going on? And is it available in a variety of languages?
I'd have to get back to Ms. Thompson about the languages. I know that typically at the start of a unit, a welcome letter is sent home to families, and they're all available in the different programs that the schools are using. Again, Second Step is a little bit more universal, but other schools have chosen things that also seem to meet the needs of their school community best. And so it is not uniform at this point. And so I think part of that study is to move to a direction where there is some more coherence so that we can do some more systematic communication to families, and it's not different depending on where you go. There's a lot of curriculum alignment in our district in general, and the social emotional curricula, it is evolving, and the market for it has expanded tremendously in the last few years, so we have a lot more options than we used to, and the newer items come with a lot more of those resources that you're looking for. So that is the direction we're moving in.
Any other comments or questions on this motion response? Hearing none, we now move to the next motion response.
I have a quick question. In terms of bullying, do we track like if individual students repeatedly keep on bullying others as well, or a victim keep on receiving bullying from different students as well?
Through Mr. Superintendent or Ms. Crocker?
Ms. Crocker, please.
Yes, Mr. Lay, in the bullying reporting form, it specifically asks if there were any documented aggressions prior, any documented incidents by the aggressor. So that is part of the investigation, and it's on the form, and it has to be looked into.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, the next motion response is 8.2, also by Mr. Rossi of May 3rd, 2023. Regarding reading, writing, and mathematics materials. Mr. Rossi, any comments or questions?
Thank you for this. Also, I know it probably took a good amount of time to compile all of these. In terms of, if a student is struggling and which direction to point them to, is there one unified say, let's try this first. And if that does not work, let's go to a tier 2 and try this. And so I guess that's what I'm looking for, because I know we have tons of programs in Lowell. And I would just like to see, for the district overall, to have a unified approach in saying, hey, if maybe Haggerty doesn't work, let's go to Letterland, right? And let's scaffold like that. Is there that type of tiered instruction, as you have it labeled, like tier 1, tier, and most of these are all tier 1, but I don't see tier 2 if there needs to be another level. So I'm just wondering what the flow is for interventions for our students before they get a referral for special education or so forth.
Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Desmond, please.
So in the report, the Tier 1 materials are identified. The Tier 2 and Tier 3 both fall under interventions. So if you look at literacy Tier 1, that is what we are asking all teachers to utilize depending on the grade level and depending on the needs of the students. And then below that, we have a list of literacy interventions. And these interventions are used in different ways for different reasons. So, for example, if during Letterland phonics and word study, teachers are recognizing that a child is not accelerating their learning, then they would utilize the Letterland intervention listed below. So it really depends on where the child's struggling, what area they're struggling in, as to what interventions would be tried first. Every building has a literacy or an instructional specialist, and they work with the teacher teams to look at data and identify student need and determine what interventions would best be tried first. And to your point, Ms. Del Rossi, if a student after 6 weeks, the data shows that they're not making any progress in that intervention, then they go to the next intervention. You cannot stay within the same Tier 2 intervention program and see no progress and continue to utilize it. You have to look at the data every 6 weeks and determine if progress is being made, and if it is not, they typically will look at what else they can use to help accelerate the learning. And so this report is sort of broken down into the tiered 1 and then all of the tier 2, tier 3 interventions that could be utilized.
Are you all set, Mr. Rossi?
Thank you.
Right. No other comments? Any other comments in that motion response? Hearing none, we now go to the next. Motion response is 8.3 by Ms. Thompson of May 17, 23, regarding grants and scholarships. Any comments or questions, Ms. Thompson?
I appreciate the information. I guess my first thought / I guess question is, was it put on the calendar? Because seeing the report is great, but what I asked for was that these were put on the calendar, and I see dates on the bottom. Are these put on a calendar so that moving forward, people have access to this? People aren't going to read these in report form, so I just really needed them to be on the regular calendar that every single person gets at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, whenever it is that you might update a calendar, so that they're seeing, because now there are 2 dates that are past the 27th and the 4th. And I guess my other question is, on the top, it talks about how each of there are sessions for the, the student support, and or for the counselors or the school counselors. So I'm wondering, does every student get to meet with the school counselor prior to these September 27th, October 4th, so that they actually can utilize the time and know what to expect, what they're walking into, so that they can make the best, put their best foot forward. So even having the dates good, that's a good first step, and that was necessary, but it's really also important that people are prepared for, you know, when you're going into a situation that there are opportunities for you to get money for school, you know how to present yourself accordingly. So that's my thoughts on this report. Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent, would you like to respond to that?
Thank you. I'll give it to Ms. Desmond, please.
I will check with head of school, Mr. Fiato, to be sure that they are posted. I know that all of the presentations that describe these dates and the processes were provided at family events, and they were translated and put on the website, but I'm not sure if it's in this format of just all the bulleted dates, so I will just verify that and get back to you on that.
Mr. Lay?
Just a little comment, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a little comment that I know parents, when you have a parents' night, only a few parents showed up, and on this report here, there is a portion that parents are invited to have coffee with the guidance counselors, and I'm just wondering how useful that is. I don't know if many parents actually go meet the guidance counselor in the morning to have coffee and talk about scholarship and whatnot.
Mr.
Do
Superintendent?
we have any data on that too? Or?
So we can look for data on that, Ms. Lay. As, you know, it seems that it's a perennial issue. The school's putting a lot of effort into having parent functions. They want the parents to show up for them. I suggest that they are useful, and they're certainly useful for the parents who come to them, right? So some parents want to be there and want that information, others don't. But for the parents who show up, I think it is very useful.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if we have another way to reach out to the parents to give information to the parents.
Certainly, yeah. There are multiple ways. This information is also relayed through social media. It's also relayed through the websites and so forth, and in person. You have to try to reach people multiple ways, and I think that's what the high school does with these. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sankich?
I think the issue is that the school is just too big. So I know about these scholarships because I'm like actively looking for them because I take charge of my education. However, like other students, so like at these student support services, it's more about, oh, how many credits do you need to pass? What do you need to graduate? We're not really, at this point, we're not really focused on scholarships, and we're more focused on our students passing. And for the parent nights, my mom doesn't go to those. If I wanted to get that information, my mom would not go. So, and I wouldn't go by myself because it's a parent night. So I do second that it should be broadcasted more to students whose parents aren't very active in their education, because mine isn't, and I'd have to go find these scholarships myself. I didn't know about them until I did my own research on them. That's it.
Excellent comment. Mr. Superintendent, any other further comments?
No, I'll take any further questions, but otherwise, no, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Doherty?
Thank you. I was just wondering, and just kind of feeding off of her comments, do we still have the TV studio presenting? They used to do like a morning news thing at the high school. That might be an opportunity to beef up talking about different scholarships. This is the time to be looking into it, and through you to the are we still doing that at the high school? I don't know. I know we've had a lot of staffing issues with the studio and the TV program.
Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you. I know the TV program does not exist at the moment in the guise that it was before. I do know, however, that Mr. Fiato is quite, proficient at social media and also at recording videos that are then shown in advisory to students. And I agree that is also an excellent way to get the word out to students about scholarships.
You all set, Ms. Doherty? Mr. Lee?
I just want to have a second thought. So also, just like our Student Senate representative just said, that senior year, students are too busy to look at the grades and look at how many credits they have earned in order to graduate. So scholarship probably should look into a little bit earlier, maybe ninth grade and 10th grade, maybe even 8th grade. I think that's, maybe 8 is a little bit early, but yeah. But to let them know that scholarship is coming, it's available, and that time maybe we have more free time. I'm just throwing out ideas. I'm not making any suggestion. I'm just.
Mr. Superintendent?
I think that's an excellent suggestion, Mr. Lay, and we can't communicate, we can't over-communicate, and so absolutely, and I would agree with you, even down to 8th grade. Why not let students know these scholarship opportunities are available, so then they might actually start looking for them before we, even before we're ready. It's okay that they know that. We should promote it in 8th grade and 9th grade and 10th grade and so on. Absolutely. We'll be sure to relay that to the high school and to the middle schools.
Ms. Sankish, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, I do. So I think it's an issue of like level almost. Because like I said, so we have these like yearly, we have like 4 yearly meetings, and it's one's about like college credit, one's about like getting back into school and not using your phone, and then we have like one that says, oh, what is your idea for like what do you want to do after high school? And so that's the issue, where I think we're so focused on like the bare minimum because there's so many levels of students that like when I go to those meetings, I'm like, I'm getting nothing from this because I've already figured out what I wanted to do. So that's what I mean when I say that there's too many students. It's because we're like doing, okay, well, as long as everybody passes, that's fine, but there's people at different paths, and like, so maybe if we could section those type of meetings to like different places instead of doing like C house, because that's how we do it. We do like C house, B house, all have one meeting, when it should be more like, where are you in your path on your way to college or on your way to going to work or whatever pathway these students want to take.
Wonderful. No other comments on this motion response? We'll now go to the next motion response, 8.4. This is for Mr. Rossi regarding the McAuliffe handicap parking. Any comments or questions, Mr. Rossi?
Yes, and I think I mentioned this last time, that I know to the right, when you're walking down towards the McAuliffe and the Robinson, I know that was done and re-chalked and pulled back. But I'm talking about the handicap signs on the left-hand side that the overgrowth is in, and it's not re-chalked. So if you could look into that, that's right across from the school, I'd greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this by any of the members? Hearing none, we'll go to the next motion response, 8.5, also for Mr. Rossi of October 18, 23, regarding school transportation. Mr. Rossi?
Yeah, I just think it's just overall disturbing that we can't know if there's any buses or if kids are going to be dropped off early or late, and we don't know if we don't have time to communicate. And it's just very sad, and that we should be constantly rethinking this as an administration, because parents don't deserve that, to not know, or to get a last-minute message, or to not know where their kids are.
Okay. No other comments, Ms. Doherty?
Yes, I'd like to echo what Mr. Rossi said. In the first paragraph, I found myself thinking, what time? What time is a parent getting a call? We don't have a bus driver for your daughter's bus. The second paragraph, I really couldn't even understand what it meant in terms of, are they being notified? Is the bus coming early? Is the bus coming late? It's just such a disservice to our families. And I know that a lot of it is out of our control, but we need to get a better handle on this. Thank you.
Ms. Thompson?
I am also just in echoing that, but I'm also concerned about the socio-emotional impact that also is going to have on the students, the anxiety of being late and, having to rush, and the parents are going to be stressed, the students are going to be stressed. So it has a ripple effect impact as well that I'm really concerned about.
Any other comments before I call our student senator, Mr. Superintendent?
I'd just like to express that we agree with your sentiments very much. It's not an acceptable situation. We're working in various means to be creative about really just attracting more bus drivers. So we agree with the sentiments. Otherwise, part of what I think was complicated in the response to the motion was that Mr. Dakota tries every sort of creative means to make sure all students are picked up and sent to school. You can't, if bus 46 isn't running that morning, you can't just message the parents, bus 46 is not running, because in all likelihood, he's going to find a way to pick up those students using a different bus and a different route. But it's all sort of in the moment planning, and you can't, it's not acceptable. I'm admitting that. We're trying to find solutions to it the best we can. Thank you.
Ms. Sandkish?
I just wanted to echo what the ladies over there said as well. Especially being one of those kids who didn't get picked up before, it is getting cold. It was really cold today, and some of us didn't even wear jackets today. So I imagine that if we're standing outside for so long and it's so cold, that is traumatizing, because my mom would be yelling at me too sometimes. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll now go to the next motion response. This is item 8.6. Also for Mr. Rossi of October 18, 2023, regarding Transportation Department Head. Any comments or questions, Mr. Rossi?
Yeah, I'm just going to read this because my request was to begin the process for interview process for a new transportation department head, as well as any other department heads within the school district that we know will be retiring in the near future. Because when I clicked on this response, it just brought me to the City of Lowell website. And it says, currently, we do not have any notices of retirement for which we are not posting for applicants. If we receive notice of a retirement, we will immediately post the position. The transportation director has let me know that if he decides to retire, he will provide us with enough lead time to conduct a full search and interview process. As we all know, the transportation director is running for city council. And I mean, I think in the dire need that we are in, that if we do not start this process and we do not start thinking of different ways to make our transportation work, then we're going to be in a desperate lurch that is not going to be helpful and not going to serve our students in the district or our families who are our taxpayers. And we do owe them a service, and we can't negate this. So I just want to bring attention to that. So thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Lay?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just curious. I know that we cannot post a position until we receive notice of from the Director of Transportation, but it's not too early. Would that be okay to start talking about job descriptions and whatever that's
Mr. Superintendent?
getting us ready?
It's not too early to talk about job description. It's not too early to recruit for positions and to be prepared, have contingency plans. But it is improper to post for somebody who's not told us they're going to retire. It's also difficult to talk about one position because we're actually talking about one person, right? So, but it's improper to post a position anticipating that they'll tell us they're going to retire. We can recruit for sure, and we can have contingency plans, and we do. Thank you.
Ms. Thompson?
I think that beyond that, to Ms. Del Rossi's point, I think we need to be thinking about the transportation department, not just one person. I think that, obviously the person that may be vacating that role has a ton of experience, and there's, even with that experience, having all of these, issues and may need additional support. So I think we need to be looking at what the transportation department looks like, potentially looking at other districts same size, what their transportation departments look like, and finding out what fundamental acknowledgments we need to make and contributions and commitments that we need to make so that the district is a lot more sound in that area. Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent?
I just want to acknowledge, I think it's a very helpful comment, and I'd be happy to take up the opportunity to explore, including looking at what other transportation departments looks like and what resources we should have there. Thank you.
Any other comments on this motion response? Hearing none, we'll now go to the last motion response. This is for Ms. Thompson regarding Lowell High School bathroom access, the motion of 10-4-23. Ms. Thompson?
So, I appreciate that we got a response. However, this basically tells us the same stuff that we knew when I made the motion initially. I understand that there's the reasoning that some of the bathrooms are closed. That wasn't really my question, nor was it this committee's stance. We basically were asking, how many people do you need in order for all the bathrooms to be opened? I think that was the question, and that's the response that I'm looking for. So I'm hoping that this can come back to us with a recommendation for how many people we need so that every single bathroom, I mean, we have this beautiful building that we're building out, and then people aren't going to be able to use some of the bathrooms. It just it doesn't make any logical sense, and there are way too many students for there to be bathroom closures. So whatever we need to do, whatever commitments, again, financial commitments we need to make, and whatever we need to restructure, figure out, the bathrooms need to be open. I think that's the least that we could give our students. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you. I also had concerns about the lack of specificity in this report. The closing of some bathrooms that are routinely problematic due to overcrowding. How many bathrooms are closed at the high school? And then later on, although there are select bathrooms that have been permanently closed, we are pleased to report that open facilities can be found on the majority of floors. So is that one bathroom on each floor, the majority of floors? I mean, we know how big the high school is, right? And then at another point, we believe the current staffing model can support the plan to make available the appropriate amount of bathroom facilities in a safe and equitable manner. Again, what is considered an appropriate number of bathrooms for 3,500 students? There's no specifics here, and I find that frustrating. You know, we're looking for good information, and I think to Ms. Thompson's point, we're assuming that the number of bathrooms we have at the high school are there because there's some code or whatever, I think the word is code, that says for the number of teenagers that you have in the building, you need this number of bathrooms. And without even knowing how many are being left open or closed, or what we need to do differently so that more can be open, I find the report very frustrating, and I would second my colleague's request that it come back to us with more information, more specific information, and actual recommendations about how to make sure that our students have access, safe access to bathrooms. Thank you.
Okay, to echo Ms. Thompson and Ms. Doherty's comments, I'm hearing this motion response. This report is not complete. If the superintendent's office could bring more information as the request of committee members with all those questions, items, and numbers and data. Mr. Superintendent?
Certainly. I don't have in front of me the prior report, but I believe that Mr. Fiato intended in the previous report to give specific bathrooms and which ones. So I think that was in the prior one, and this was more of an explanation of questions. I also acknowledge it's not yet complete. Your question, Ms. Thompson, is very straightforward. How many people would you need to provide for safety and opening all bathrooms? And so we will go back again and follow up on that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Sian-Kish?
Hi, so I don't know everything, but I can attest to how many bathrooms have been opened. So there's one that has been opened. It's in the 500s, but it is not stingy, but there's a person outside, a teacher who has the key, and after every person comes out, she locks it, and sometimes they're not there, so it's like half open. Yeah. So basically one bathroom has been opened, half opened, since the report was made and since we talked about it last time. And I have been doing like a little bit of like polling, I guess, from the teachers, asking them about like how they feel. Because there was no added security. There's just like teachers got duties, is what they told me. They just got another duty added. So they just sit there. And then sometimes I heard that they just don't show up. So then they have to be pulled out of like their other duties to go to that duty. So yeah, it's a little messy.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, need a motion to accept the reports of the superintendent 8.1 through 8.7 as a report of progress by Mr. Rossi, second by Ms. Martin. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carried. We now go on to the next item, which is 8.8 on home education. Any comments or questions on this report? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve by Ms. Doherty, second by Ms. Mon. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Martin? Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Chun?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
7 yeas.
We are now at the new business, 9.1, on the Lowell High School graduation policy, IKF. Any comments or questions on this one? Need a motion to approve the revised graduation policy by Ms. Doherty, second by Ms. Chun. Madam Secretary, roll call, please. Do you have a question, or was it
I
a motion?
just wanted to add, no, I'm making a motion to approve.
approve, okay.
But we also discussed having some line in there or some understanding that we were going to review this after a year, see the impact of that. I know we talked about that during the policy subcommittee, and I don't know where it would be appropriate to put it, but I do think it's, or at least note it, that we were going to review in a year.
Okay, now that should be noted, even if it's not in here yet, Mr. Superintendent.
I think my immediate suggestion is that it be noted in the meeting minutes. I tend to take notes as we go here, and I will record that myself and make a note that you want to, as I understand it, you want to go back and look at this policy one more time a year from now? Or do you want to say at the end of this school year?
Whatever you're more comfortable with, because if you want to look at the end of the summer session,
Ms.
I mean,
Desmond?
some students might need the end of the summer to fully get their credits. I'm not looking to penalize the change, I just want to track what the impacts are.
So our intent was to do it as of the end of August. To your point, we do have a graduation in August for students that just need to finish up over the summer. And then once we have our data, we would like to bring it back as a review and hopefully as a celebration of success. That's what we're hoping for. So, yep, we'll be happy to do that.
Thank you, that's fine.
Okay. Any other comments on this one? We had a second already, first and a second. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Martin? Ms. Thompson? Mayor Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Chun?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
7 yeas.
We already taken up item 9.2 earlier. We're now at the budget transfer in amount of $28,775.18. Any comments or questions on this one? Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no problem with these budget transfer, but I do have a question related to number 2 about the windows. I know we have been talking for years about windows, screens, shades, and I recently got a call regarding not enough shades at, I believe it was the Bartlett School. So I'm wondering where we stand on that whole issue with the shades. You know, that does have an impact in terms of the sun coming in, and so through you to administration, if they have, or if they don't have it tonight, to provide us with that information for the next meeting would be fine. But I just want to know that we're staying on top of the shades and as well. And I move to approve.
Okay, before I acknowledge your motion to approve the exact amount, I didn't have my reading glasses on. It was written big enough for me, though. It's the exact amount is $278,775.18, not 27 or 28,000 I said earlier. 278,000. Motion approved by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Lay. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson? Mayor Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Chun? Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, just before we move off the budget,
Ms.
I would just like to, if I could, reiterate a request we had made to start receiving monthly reports, budget reports that would show us spend downs for showing us the ESSER spend down on a month-by-month basis, so we can track any kind of, open positions, things that are not going to be able to happen within the prescribed timeline, so we can reallocate those funds in a timely way and not kind of find ourselves at the end not being able to spend them. I know that it's anticipated, I believe, that we're going to get an extra 6 months, but still, that's going to go very quickly. So if we could start getting that as a regular report, kind of like we get this every month, that would be really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding. Ms. Mon, was that put, I don't remember you talked about that before, that the request before. Was that in the form of a motion before? Okay, maybe just to make it go out on record, maybe, motion to suspend the rule. Ms. Mon would like to make a motion on the floor. What's the motion on the floor?
She wants to have a monthly ESSER report to have the spend town amounts so they can track any possible positions that may be in jeopardy moving forward once the ESSER money runs out.
Okay, let's have the formal motion on the floor, second by Ms. Thompson. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Was it, Madam Secretary, so it's no money involved, doesn't need to be a roll call, right? It's a voice call, voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. All right, we'll now move on to the next item on the agenda. These are the conventions and conference. Let me just need a motion to bundle and approve this convention and conference by Ms. Doherty, second by Ms. Chun. I'm going to read these two motions together, and if any questions or comments, you can make on each one separately. 10.1, overnight request, National Council of Teachers of English in Ohio. 10.2, overnight request, Nature Everywhere Conference in Georgia. Any comments or questions on any of those items? Need a motion to approve by Ms. Doherty, second by Ms. Mon. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Thompson? Yes. Mayor Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Chun? Yes. Mr. Rossi? Yes. Ms. Doherty? Yes. Mr. Lay?
Yes.
7 yeas.
We are at the professional personnel. Need a motion to bundle and approve the personnel by Ms. Thompson, second by Mr. Rossi. I'm going to read this two items together, and then if you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to make on each one separately. 11.1, the members of the United Teachers of Lowell hereby donate 34 sick leave days to Belinda Paul, daily school teacher. 11.2, the members of the United Teachers of Lowell hereby donate 30. Again, I have, the wording writes 30, but in parentheses it says 9. Which is the correct number?
Hold on, I'll look.
And now that I look closely, I should put on my reading class, actually. Even on 11.1, the written word is 30, but in parentheses 34. That's 11.2, the written word is 30, in parentheses 9. Could you confirm which? Ms. Doherty?
Is 9.
It's 9, Mr. Mayor.
9, okay. So Kristen Nervous 9. Ms. Doherty, did you have something to say differently than the numbers?
Just an event this Saturday is the Sustainability Council.
Okay, could you we just take care of this first?
I didn't realize we weren't finished with this, I'm sorry.
34, okay, so
39 days for Kristen Coleman, and Belinda Paul is 34 days.
Belinda Paul is 34, and Kristen Kirpen is 9. We had a first and second already. Any comments on these two items? Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Ms. Thompson? Yes. Mayor Chow?
Yes.
Ms. Chun? Yes. Mr. Rossi? Yes. Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Does anybody have the correct time for me? What time is it on your watch, on your phone? All right, we do have some time. Any announcement, Ms. Doherty?
Yes, I just wanted to announce that the annual summit for the Sustainability Council is this Saturday. There will be a panel of speakers talking about climate change and efforts here in Lowell to combat that, and I would just welcome the community to come out for that. Thank you.
It's going to be a great event. A lot of people are going to be there. I will be there as well. Thank you for making the announcement.
Do you remember where it is? Because I just texted my husband for the location, and he hasn't responded.
From what I remember last year, it's LTC.
Oh, it's at LTC.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh, Ms. Thompson knows. Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
I still have it in.
And there will be refreshments, too.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, and I think somebody just told me the correct time. It's 7:51. Need a motion by Ms. Chun to adjourn, second by Mr. Rossi. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion is carried. Congratulations to Ms. Sian Kish on your first successful meeting. Thank you everyone for being here in the chamber and everyone watching us from home. Have a great night.